Bobby Shoemaker, Andrew Calvano, Tournament Talk on the Tournament Edge for Saturday, January 14th, Andrew. We're covering Aqueduct Race 6. It's a $67,000 allowance race going 1 mile and 70 yards on the inner, of course, for 4-year-olds and up. Andrew, it is a field of, I believe it's 10. Diversify. The 9 horse is your 6-5 morning line favorite. And look, we were talking a little bit about this horse off the air. I didn't know much about this horse until this race. I saw him break his maiden, thought it was impressive, but a lot of times, Andrew, horses, it takes so much out of them, their maiden victory, they don't come back and run well second time out. He didn't just run well second time out. He beat winners for the first time in Allowance Company, and then last time out on December 14th on this racetrack, on the inner, a 1:29 time form U.S. speed figure, Andrew. And watch the film, guys. Jose Ortiz never even asked this horse to run. So for me, visually, Andrew, he can run even faster than 1:29 if that's possible. I don't know where they've been keeping this horse, Andrew, and why he wasn't running in on the Triple Crown Trail. But this horse looks to be very, very good, if not special. So I'll just go ahead and say it. Free square. I think you take the 9 and move on.
Yeah, and I'm kind of in agreement with you, Bobby. And $150,000 purchase out of Bellamy Road. This one's already made $108,000 in 3 starts, perfect 3 for 3. So I think Connections are very happy with this one, and I'm sure they're definitely to get their investment back. And like you said, when I was reading this race, very tough to beat these numbers. I mean, you can find angles for other horses and say, yeah, this can work, but then you just double check and see that this horse is just 15 points better. I'm sure on a time form scale, that's the way I'm looking at it here on a buyer's scale as well. And it's just going to be tough for any of these horses to run a race even comparable to what this one has done, whether maiden or against winners. So I'm with you. I'm on the 9. However, tournament-wise, I'm going to go get a price here, and that's number 1, Jess I Am. Been following this one for a while, and guys close to me who follow me know that as well. Had this one in my stable since the debut, but this one tried turf a bunch of times with John Terranova. Didn't really work out, but last winter, this one's races over the inner are credible, so I think this one will like to come back to a track where he's run well over. I think this is a light bulb angle here, and I really think he's going to be able to show some early speed from the rail. I think it's the position they want this horse in now. I'm not saying this one's faster than the 9.
Right.
At least I know with this horse, I'm going to be right up close to the 9.
Sure.
And maybe with some speed bias, they duke it out. But either way, I really think this one's going to run in the money at the very least at a price. So maybe I can make some money with an odds-on favorite and a double-digit price here horse. But I really think Jess I Am can run a big one facing winners for the first time today. But like I said, going to be tough to beat the 9 here.
Yeah, Andrew, I don't want you to think that I just looked at the numbers and just said, okay, the 9 wins. I tried to beat the 9, and I just think that there are certain circumstances where you take the 450 or 580 and just move on. Obviously, not comparing this horse to Songbird by any stretch of the imagination, but when I was playing in the bigger tournaments and she was in races, I just played her and said, look, that 450 or 480 might pay dividends at the end of that tournament. It might be a difference from 5th or 3rd or 3rd to 1st, and you're talking thousands of dollars difference. But I'm glad to see you trying to beat the 9 with a creative pick like the 1, and maybe it is the light bulb angle going off for that horse. And look, at the end of the day, if this horse is double digits and runs second, you're probably going to get back more money than I would for the 9. I just didn't know where to try to quote-unquote stab at, and I didn't want to get it wrong and then leave $5 on the table. And again, at the end of the day, it really paid dividends at the end of the tournament. Wanted to ask you about Eden Ridge, the 2 horse. I looked at this horse for a brief moment considering trying to stab at this one, but I just don't know if the horse is better than your 1 with the light bulb angle. Manny Franco can certainly ride this time of year at this racetrack. Your thoughts on the 2 Eden Ridge? Because I think some people watching this show are going to try to beat the 9 with the 2.
Without a doubt, and Carlos Martin's actually started off pretty cold for the inner. Usually he's one of the top guys here. Didn't really know what to do with this horse. I know he's been running against some speed bias tracks in the past, especially that last one. But I think in this race, though, you may have a speed duel. I think the bias of the track, the inner track always plays the speed. So I'm not really sure how far this one's going to be out. I mean, last time was actually up close, from the inside, had to show early speed. But if you look at prior races, this one's 6 to 7 lengths back. And I don't know if that one is going to be able to close, especially on a horse like a 9 who may just draw off and call it a day. A respectable horse that has always found himself strong on the New York circuit.
Right.
You can't really discount this one's obviously, been knocking on the door for a long time and does have credible races. And I mean, this horse is 75% in the money just this past 2016 season alone. So I definitely think this is another one at a big price you can include into the trifectas. But as far as beating the 9, I'm going to try elsewhere.
Wanted to ask you about the 4-horse Pretentious. I think this horse, from a value standpoint, is way below what I would ever take on this horse. 5 to 1 running numbers that are 12 points lower than obviously the one to beat in the 9 Diversify. I couldn't play this horse probably at 8 to 1, much less 5 to 1. But I think he's yet another horse a lot of people are going to try to beat the 9 with. Your thoughts on the 4? First off the claim, Bill Mott. Kendrick Carmouche climbs aboard.
Yeah, pre-morning light odds, I was actually intrigued by this one. If you cross out every single one of this one's turf races here, I mean, runs 12 lengths behind a grade 3 company behind horses like Midnight Storm and Hard Aces,
right.
And then eventually 6 lengths behind Airgate, and I think that's why this one came so low on the morning line odds. But at 5 to 1, a 1 for 20 lifetime horse trying the inner dirt at Aqueduct for the first time, it's just too much for me to take at a low price. And to be quite honest with you, if it came between those 2 horses, I'd rather just take the chalk 6 to 5, who has experienced just 100 buyer speed figure last time out, 2 turns over the inner for the first time, then 5 to 1, and I have to bank on, okay, will the horse fire off the ship, off the layoff for a new trainer? He's 1 for 20. What does he like? Turf? Does he like dirt? What's better? So I think there's a lot of question marks and too low of a price to settle on.
Couldn't agree more. Give us your top selection once again, and again elaborate on your tournament play.
Yeah, so I think the number 9, Diversify, is the one to beat here pari-mutually. However, in tournaments, I think this is a race where you can go find a price in, because even if Diversify wins and pays $6 for argument's sake across the board, a horse like Jess I Am at double-digit odds, can pay upwards of $12, place and show. And that's where I'm going to roll off the light bulb angle there.
For me, I think Diversify has a chance to be special. And I don't like to use that word too much, but this horse looks to be the real deal, Andrew. And I think if you're in contention, take the 9 and look at it as a free square and move on. For me, if you need a price, I think Andrew's horse, the 1, is obviously one to consider. And I think Eden Ridge, who always runs his best effort each and every time, will be another horse to take a look at. So that's going to do it for Aqueduct Race 6 on Saturday, January 14th. Andrew's on the 9. I'm on the 9 as well. That's Andrew Calvano. I'm Bobby Shoemaker. Good luck.
Good luck, guys.